Hello and welcome to the Restricted Area Podcast, where we break down the week in WNBA and NBA action. As a reminder, you can hear this podcast a day before it can be seen on YouTube by checking out Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. I am your host, joined by co-host Logan Hatfield. How we doing?
We are doing well, doing well. New location, back on the pod, feeling good, and excited to talk some ball.
For sure, great to have you back in the area. I know you had a whole lot of fun in Memphis and traveling. I think you're around the world more than you were in Memphis, but good to have you back.
Absolutely.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get down into the nitty gritty of things. The little bit of a big thing going on, the NBA Finals. Uh, Something exciting in pro hoops going on right now. Logan, what stood out to you so far?
I think what stood out to me is the combined net worth of the people at Madison Square Garden last night. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, you consider everyone that was in Celebrity Row. The president was there. Not to mention, just the average New York City resident was also at that game. So to think
Hmm.
about that, there's a lot of money in that arena last night, and I think that's pretty interesting. But a question I wanted to pose about this series, as it sits at 2-1 Knicks, which, by the way, I'll lay out a quick prediction here. I do think the Knicks take game four. I think the Spurs
Me
punch
too.
back in game five, and I think the Knicks close out in the Garden in game six. That seems like what the script is trying to tell me, but
Hmm.
I could also be wrong, and the Spurs could just win three straight. Who knows? But the question that poses, like in my mind here now, is who needs this ring more? As a franchise, do the Knicks or the Spurs need it more? I think the Knicks need it more. I think that
Hmm.
I would lean in that direction. But as a individual star player, does Jalen Brunson or Victor Wembanyama need this ring more?
In my opinion, I think it's definitely Brunson at this point because Vic is in his first playoff run. So this is really, I think, exceeding expectations in this one for sure. So I think Brunson could really use it. And like you said, the Knicks definitely need it. They haven't won a championship this century, so that's quite a long time to go without one. And the Spurs have won a few. I don't think anybody's calling them a dysfunctional organization like we called the Knicks for so many years. So the Knicks could use this one. I don't think anybody's really slandering Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson could definitely use it to just kind of up his stock and maybe get that Hall of Fame nod somewhere down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now the other question I pose is for, some of the second options. The Spurs have a lot of young players, but a guy like Darren Fox and a guy like Carl Towns are two guys who were at one point in their career the number one guy on their team and
Mhm.
the player that a franchise was building around, but now they've taken on a new role and a new kind of system. So, which one of them do you think would benefit more from a ring? I have an opinion, but I'd like to hear yours first.
Again, I think well, De'Aaron Fox is not as young as the other guards, but I don't think there's really any slander on his name because he had to play in the lovely organization that was Sacramento for so
Yeah.
long. So I think his stock is fine where it's at right now. Cat could definitely use this. If there's somebody that's been slandered, it's been him, whether it's been by social media, fans pushing a very weird narrative, or Jimmy Butler even. So I feel like the validation would be much more thorough for Cat than it would be for Fox. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Cat's been through it all in this league. He's been the guy, and then he's seen his role get diminished, and then he's been traded. He's played with a lot of great young players, but I think this is his time. Now, I do have a sneaky reason why I think De'Aaron Fox might need it more, and that's
Okay,
because I think following this summer, we're not going to see Fox in a Spurs jersey next
I
season.
agree. I agree with
Uh,
that.
I think that the runway has been cleared out for Dylan Harper to start at the one, and I think it's De'Aaron Fox's time in San Antonio is up. I think they're going to trade him for some more either draft picks, role players, whatever it may be. But I don't see De'Aaron Fox's time in San Antonio being much longer, which poses the question of where he would go next. But I could only think of a few other situations I could get him in the realm of a championship, and I don't think like Oklahoma City or Boston is going to go trade for him. So
Yeah, I don't see
uh,
that happening.
no. So I think that De'Aaron Fox. I think Cat has a chance to get back here consistently in the future. I don't think that De'Aaron Fox has that chance anymore. So I think as a role player, he would probably benefit from it more. But I don't know. I think overall, I think I'd lean a little bit more wanting to see Cat win one, just knowing everything he's been through in this league. But
Yeah.
I also wouldn't be mad about seeing De'Aaron Fox lift up the Larry O.
And just things outside of basketball, like everything he went through during COVID, that's incredibly tough. And I couldn't imagine going through that. And then people still trying to besmirch his name during that process. It's just insane. So, yeah, I really hope we'll not be mad if the Knicks win this, because Cat getting that validation would be something great, in my opinion. I did want to pose a couple questions for you as well. Game one, Russ versus Rest. I don't think there was any advantage there either way, because both teams struggled. Two things I did notice, though, is Champagnie, after the hot start, did not hit another shot in that second half, and Keldon Johnson getting single-digit minutes. Which one of those is more concerning for you?
Keldon Johnson's minutes easily. Champagnie, I mean, I feel like Champagnie made his name as a streaky shooter and then got wildly consistent this playoff. So I'll give him his credit there.
Mm-hmm.
But like he's obviously grown more consistent as a player, but in his career he's been a fairly streaky shooter. But looking at the reigning sixth man of the year coming off the bench and playing 7 minutes in game one of the finals, that is, I mean, the alarm bells have to be ringing. Mitch Johnson,
For sure.
Mitch Johnson does not trust like hardly anyone on that bench, I don't think, in this final series, which is even more concerning for Spurs fans because of what the output that they're getting from the starters. Like they're not like, I don't think the starters are all coming together as a cohesive unit and putting together a good game. Right? It's always someone else contributing or one person doing too much. I am greatly concerned by Keldon Johnson's minutes, strictly because of what he's been able to provide like through the regular season and the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you get to the biggest stage and he's supposed to be your best bench player and you're playing a rookie like triple the minutes he's getting. I don't know. That's fairly concerning to me. Now, Dylan Harper's a great player, and I think he's going to be starting for the Spurs next year. But the fact that you have a player who won an award designed around coming off the bench and he's not coming off the bench is concerning to me. I would like to see what's going on in Mitch Johnson's head when he doesn't sub him in.
I would agree. It's definitely the Johnson factor. The thing it's even more magnified, right? Because the Knicks have a deeper bench. So anything the Spurs are not getting from their bench that they were originally getting in the regular season is going to be magnified. And it certainly has been during these first two games, or first three games, I should say. But yeah, I did not expect this. I think I was talking to somebody, and it's because OG is just like a bigger, stronger version of him. And I think anytime he's in the game, he's getting matched up with OG, and it's just showing his weaknesses to a fault. And again, it's getting magnified, and that's a big, big problem. But game two, the biggest headline was the mistake by Wemby at the end of the game when they made that great, great comeback. Question for you there is that the biggest mistake we've seen since the Magic Johnson dribbling at the clock?
I want to throw in the J.R. Smith.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
I definitely want to throw J.R. Smith in there. However, I don't think the Cavs had a snowball's chance in hell in winning that series. So,
right.
Realistically, that's probably fine. But that one, like, it was just a mental lapse. I think Wemby had a plan, and he thought him and Castle were on the same page, but Castle, like, I don't know what the indication he got was that Castle was going to randomly turn around in that moment. I have no idea.
Players don't usually go 4 verts when they're going to turn around for the ball, so I don't really know what the plan was. Fox was behind him. If he waited 1 second, he could have got it to him. But
yeah,
the thing you've brought up a couple times already too. Why isn't Harper starting already? Like, what do you think is the deal there? Because I think he should have got Fox's minutes a long time ago.
That could just be Mitch Johnson trying to save his pride at this point.
Maybe,
much as that seems like a drastic answer, I think NBA coaches do that a lot more than we'd like to admit. They don't want to admit that they're wrong per se. It doesn't happen very often. And I'm sure like the best example I can think of is like why wasn't Rui Hachimura in the game against the Thunder when they needed a 3? Right, down 3-0 in the series. Like it's something like that where it's like, and then JJ Redick, nothing. So I
11.
think Mitch Johnson might be trying to save his pride a little bit here. He also knows, like, De'Aaron Fox, you know what you're going to get out of him. He's a very solid player, and dare I say, I think De'Aaron Fox should have taken the last shot in Game 2.
That's fair.
I mean, he's not reigning, but he is a Clutch Player of the Year winner. He has won that award before. De'Aaron Fox steps up in the clutch, and I think obviously everyone knows the ball's going into Wemby's hand there, so why not do a little misdirection and give him the shot? Now, the reason I think that De'Aaron Fox is kind of taking away these Harper minutes is kind of what I talked about before. Is we don't know. I think De'Aaron Fox's time with the Spurs might be running short, so I think they're trying to get what they can out of him and possibly try and raise his trade value, which is a crazy thing to do in the playoffs, in the finals, but I think that's what they're trying to do here is like they don't see him as a part of the long-term plan, so they want to get what they can out of him now.
Yeah, and you got to think Mitch Johnson is following a pretty historic coach, so there's a lot of pressure there to kind of live
Just
up to
a
that
little
name,
bit.
that standard, and the great organization that we were talking about, the great organizational standards that they kind of set. But going back to your point, Wemby, I think I completely agree with you. Somebody else should have took that shot. He should have been a decoy. He's already going through the mental lapse of that turnover, then fouling Brunson when he didn't need to. They could have just played that defensive possession out and probably got a stop, went to overtime, and nope, everybody forgets about it. But nope, that didn't happen. And then you want him to take the biggest shot of his career right there. Just not a great position to put somebody in their first playoff run. It's the first playoff run for a lot of these people. But Fox, I feel like, was the veteran that could have stepped up and made that shot as he did in Game 3 when they needed it most.
Yeah, and I think I've seen throughout his career, I've seen Fox hit a million game winners. Like, he is clutch. He can get to the rim, but he's also good enough to like step back and take a mid range or a three in that situation. I also know another guard out of the West that probably would have made that elbow jumper. It's like a free throw for him, but
yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. There's no bitterness on my side. You know, I obviously haven't been on the pod in a while, so nobody's got to hear my opinions on certain things. But obviously, unfortunately, the Thunder aren't here. But dare I say, the Thunder would have made for a better series.
Can't argue with you so far. Honestly, I was surprised the Spurs won Game 3. Glad, because I want to see good basketball and a good series. Nobody wants to see a sweep in the finals. But a couple more questions I had. First off, has Cat been the best big in the series in your opinion? Secondly, does his Game 3 performance concern you to going back in the wrong direction?
So I'll answer the Game 3 question first. I was a little bit concerned, but the fact that the Knicks only lost by 4 realistically kind of shows that they don't obviously, like, it would help if Cat is playing at an elite level, but they don't need him to be Shaquille O'Neal. They just need him to be Karl Towns. Yeah. And that's what he was for the first 2 games. And he had Wemby out of sorts. He really did. Because I think going from playing someone who has a similar frame to you and a similar body type, like Wemby playing against Chet is one thing, right? I think they're similar in the way that they defend. They're similar in the way that they try and score, because I mean they're both 7 foot whatever guys who are lanky and can kind of play basketball a different way. But then I think he faced 2 extremes. He was getting guarded by Chet and he was getting guarded by Isaiah Hartenstein, who are 2 completely different builds.
Yeah.
Right, Isaiah Hartenstein is ripped, and he's one to play super physical. Now, I think he's finding kind of a middle ground with Cat, and he doesn't exactly know how to handle it the best. He definitely stepped up and played better in Game 3, but I do think Cat is kind of throwing a lot at him that I don't know, is prepared to handle yet. Because you have to respect Cat's 3-point game, right? He's arguably, I don't even say arguably, he's the best 3-point shooting big the game's ever seen, right? And now Cat he's speeding him up, but he's also slowing him down. He's not letting him get comfortable, and he's not letting him settle into the game. So I think that's what makes me say Cat has been the best big in this series, because for 2 out of 3 games, he was better. I do think Wemby played better in Game 3. I think he had his number in Game 3. He finally figured something out. But for 2 out of the 3 games so far, Cat has outclassed Wemby. And just the fact that he's been able to confuse him, he's been able to throw a lot at him. He speeds it up, he slows it down, he can get to the rim, but he also steps back and shoots. He's taking Wemby out of his comfort zone, which is something that has been hard to do for anyone this year. So for Cat to be able to do that, that shows a lot about his maturity, like how long he's been in this league and how many players he's seen. The fact that he can do that is impressive to me, and I think if things go the way they're going, and the series continues in the way it's looking, I could see Cat taking home Finals MVP.
Right there with you. He's been, I would agree, he's been the best big this series. You mentioned it, right? Like that physicality, I think, is something that's taking Wemby out of games. OKC kind of showed the blueprint for that last series. If you wear him down, he's just not going to be aggressive at the end of the games. And obviously, he hasn't been apart from game 3. So, do you think this is like one of the most physical finals we've seen in quite a while? Because I feel like it is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd say in terms of physicality, it's up there. There's a lot of physical. I mean, I've probably seen more like physical early round playoff series than this, but in terms of physicality, I can't even really remember. I mean, I think last year's finals was decently physical, but I don't see it as something compared to this. Like both teams are. I mean, they're playing hard, and the Spurs are shooting a lot of free throws. Please write
They
that
are.
down. But realistically, I do think that we are seeing two teams that won it. I think the Knicks are I think the Knicks are playing a little bit more desperate, which is something that I kind of saw coming. I know initially we had talked about like how whatever team came out of the West, like the Western Conference Finals was the NBA Finals. But afterwards, seeing how the Knicks won in 4 and it took the Spurs 7, I realistically thought, I was like, I think the Knicks are going to come into this ready to go. I thought Knicks in 6, and I still think that that's entirely possible. But I was like, oh, they're going to have to steal 1 in San Antonio. Then they stole 2. So in terms of physicality, I would say I can't even remember the last finals that was this physical. Maybe like Spurs Heat kind of times.
Right.
I don't think any of the Cavs Warriors series were this physical.
No, I
feel
definitely
like
don't.
a lot of those finals were just a decent amount of shot chucking. So
Mhm.
I think this takes me back to like a Spurs Heat kind of era where like the teams were just like, there wasn't a ton of great 3-point shooting out there. So they had to go in and had to do their thing.
Yeah, a ton of physicality. It's refreshing because you normally don't get that in the NBA. It's calls every 2 or 3 seconds, it seems
Yeah.
like. So this is good to see they're letting them play, especially on the biggest stage. Last thing you mentioned, Cats could possibly win Finals MVP if the Knicks pull this out, and I agree with that. Part of the reason I agree with that, even though he's been nails in the fourth quarter. Jalen Brunson, 19 of 56 through the first 2 games shooting wise. Is that a concern for you moving forward, or is the death by 1,000 paper cuts in the fourth quarter enough to help you overlook that?
I think that it won't be a problem as long as everyone else on the Knicks is stepping up. And it is a problem for the Spurs if the Spurs let the Knicks hang around. Because I feel like these games have been following a fairly similar blueprint to each other, and to where it gets close. Now, the Spurs did close out yesterday, which was impressive. However, I think that if they let it get to that point consistently, the Knicks will take over. Regretfully, I will admit this, I saw this in game 1 of last year's finals, where the Thunder kept like a consistent 8 to 11 point lead for most of that game, but I never felt comfortable because I knew what could happen. Right. And they let them hang around for just a little bit too long in game 1, and you saw what happened. Halliburton hit a game winner. So I think that there's a similar script there to where if the Spurs let Jalen Brunson like think he has a chance with 7 to 8 minutes left, you might as well call the game there.
I completely agree with that. He's been great in the fourth quarters, and if the game's close, that's all that really matters. So
Exactly.
shout out to him for delivering in those moments when it seems like, as you said, there's a similar blueprint. The Spurs get a big lead, and then those young guards get a little tight, and they get walked down. I thought it was going to happen in Game 3, but they pulled it off. So maybe they figured something out. Maybe something switched, but we'll have to see in the rest of the series.
Absolutely.
But we will go ahead and move on to our WNBA Power Rankings, where we list our top 3 teams that are in the association right now in our opinions. Logan, who you got?
Yes. So my number 1 team, it's the Minnesota Lynx. And I'm going to go ahead and drop my number 2 as well, because I don't think they're 2 teams that aren't that far from each other. However, I think there's one factor that is completely separating them. So my number 1 is Minnesota, and my number 2 is Las Vegas. Both are on win streaks right now. Minnesota on a streak of 7, Las Vegas on a streak of 4. And I think that they're two teams that are very similar. There's not a lot that differentiates them. But the one thing that I think Minnesota is doing marginally better than Las Vegas is defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Minnesota's giving up 78 points per game. That's wildly impressive.
That's insane.
And not to mention that they are also 5-0 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Vegas is giving up a little over 85 points per game. So it's not anything super crazy different, but it's enough of a difference for me to say that I can verifiably say Minnesota has a significantly better defense than Las Vegas, which is enough to put them at number 1 over Vegas at 2 for me. And then number 3, it's a little bit of a biased pick, but I'm putting the Dallas Wings at number 3. Who would have thought, right, that the Dallas Wings would be 7-3, 10 games into the year, primed to hopefully make the playoffs. Number 1 in assists per game, by the way, in the WNBA. Paige Beckers is doing her thing, but the rise of Jessica Shepard needs to be studied. She's averaging 13.5, 11.5, and 6. Good for second in rebounds in the W. She has been a focal point of this team, and her and Paige Beckers are doing their thing. And I'm just extremely impressed by the rise of the Wings. After a couple years of not rising, a couple years of
for sure
struggling, but I think they're putting the pieces together, and this is the team that was kind of envisioned, right, when they traded for Arike and they drafted Paige and they drafted Azzi Fudd. I think that this was the team that they envisioned, and now it's kind of all out there, and it's all there for people to see.
Yeah, Shepard's definitely somebody I hit on going into the season because I was concerned for Minnesota that they would no longer have her, especially with Fee out. But it worked out for both of them, apparently. Fee's out, and they're still winning games, and Shepard is going crazy in Dallas. So very happy for her. Logan, I'm happy to report our lists are identical. I have the Wings at number 3, 4 wins in a row. 2 versus the Liberty and the Aces, and then the other 2 by an average of 15 points. They're doing all right for themselves. I think their coach calling them out at the beginning of the season was something that was much needed, and they got their act together. The Aces, not doing anything out of the ordinary, but 3 wins. They still have Asia Wilson, so I guess they're doing all right there. The thing that I am interested to see as the season continues, Kennedy Carter talked a little mess on social media about those Wings, a couple players on there, and she has been listed as injured since then. So I want to see how long that injury lasts and if they can still be successful without her, because as I've talked about on many occasions, I'm impressed with her, and she's the leading scorer off the bench so far in the league this year. So, well, how long will they discipline her? Because I think this is a discipline injury more than an actual injury.
Exactly.
And then the Lynx, defying expectations, first in the league. You mentioned those 7 wins. Out of the last 7 wins, 1 has been within single digits. They're blowing people out. It's not like the fever dream of last year, if you want to say, where they were just doing it off vibes and friendship. No, they're single-handedly killing teams this year, no matter who steps in front of them. So the Lynx have been nothing but impressive all season, and I can't wait to see how they keep that up. Hopefully Fee's back soon, but it's been fun to watch no matter what. And now it is time for our WNBA Pick'em, where we pick our winners for the biggest games in the league this week. The first one I have for you is Thursday, 7:30 p.m. on League Pass, the Liberty at Atlanta. Who you got?
Yes, that's definitely a good one. I think that the Liberty and the Dream are 2 teams that I had kind of like right on that outside looking in for my top 3. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Dream at home. The Dream are playing pretty good. Obviously, identical record to the Wings. So kind of they're the team in that 3 and 4 spot. And I just think that the Dream, I think they're going to get a little win streak going. They out of their last 4 games, 3 of them were wins, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was by 20, one of them was by 16, and one of them was by 32. So they're playing a pretty solid brand of basketball right now. And I think that's going to continue. So give me the Dream in that one.
Yeah, they did have that anomaly in the middle of that 4 game streak. But anyways, Sabrina's only played one game this season. That is something that is also very odd to me that the Liberty are still having this much success without her, without Natasha Cloud, who's no longer with the team. I really thought they would struggle, especially without having a point guard. But Pauline Astier has been incredible and should be in the conversation for at least a finalist for Rookie of the Year because she's been just great. I think the difference here is the size inside, and uh, while Atlanta does have size inside, they don't have great scoring size inside, and the Liberty do with Stewie and JJ. And I think that might overwhelm Atlanta in this one. I could be wrong. The defense could show up for Atlanta, but I think the offensive experience, especially down low for New York, shows up in this one and gets them the win. And then
Absolutely.
the second game I have is Saturday, 8 p.m. on CBS. The Lynx at the Aces. Who you got?
I kind of figured you'd be picking this one. Might be game of the year. I'm going to go with the Lynx. I think that the Lynx are going to go into Vegas and get it done. They are just walking human torches right now.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of basketball they're playing and the level that they're playing it at is just, it's hard to beat right now. And I think it's gonna trip up the Aces. So give me the Lynx to win that one. And I don't know next time I see the Lynx losing a game.
I don't hate that prediction. The Aces are 1-2 so far at home. It's crazy they've only played 3 games so far at home. But anyways, 1-2, not a great look. And as you mentioned earlier, the Lynx undefeated on the road. But I think this game is where the law of averages kind of sees itself out and starts to settle. I do believe the Aces will win this one in a huge matchup where they can prove they always relish these opportunities to prove they're still the big dog. So I think they will do it here. I think Fee not playing in this one, you'll start to miss her here in this one where the star
Right.
power, Las Vegas is loaded with it. Obviously, Minnesota has great talent, but star power not really there. Fee's not there, so I think this is where you start to miss it, and the Aces come up with a victory in this one.
Absolutely.
And now we will move on to our shooting star, where we pick our baller of the week. Logan, who you got?
I feel like we have talked a lot about like Carl Towns, Victor Wembanyama, Jalen Brunson, but I want to go ahead and give my shooting star to the person who's been the hallmark of consistency for the Knicks in this series so far, and that is one OG Anunoby. Games 1 and 2 had 17 points in both, and then stepped up and arguably was the best player on the floor for the Knicks in that loss in Game 3 with 28 points and 5 rebounds. OG Anunoby, he's a guy, he's got that playoff experience, and he's been there before. He's been to the finals. He's a champion. That is an NBA champion right there. So he knows what it takes to kind of elevate your game to that level in the playoffs. So I'm giving it to OG Anunoby because he has been that mark of consistency for New York, and he has been one who what you're going to get out of him, and he's not a playoff dropper at all. So give me OG Anunoby, and if he keeps this up and keeps up this performance, he could low key snatch Cat's chain.
Yeah,
for Finals MVP.
I can't. I mean, I mentioned him when we talked about Keldon Johnson earlier, but yeah, he's just. They said it on Twitter. I'll put it in a family-friendly version. It's about who's a dog and who's not. Sometimes in the playoffs, apart from analytics, OG's a dog. He's not scared of anything.
Yeah.
Wemby's in his face, he's going to shoot over him. Wemby's in his face, he's going to drive past him and dunk. And he's proven that several times in this playoffs. Not scared of the moment, not scared of these finals, this stage. He's ready, and he's shown it. So great pick. I love that pick. I wanted to give shout out to the W. My baller of the week is Angel Reese, who eclipsed 1,000 career points on a 3, by the way, her first 3 of the season. So shout out to her. And more fun stat. She is one of 4 WNBA or NBA players since 1997 to have 50 double-doubles in her first 75 games. So she's putting up those numbers no matter where she's been, whether it's been a bad team or the good team that she's been on now where she's really proving herself. She's been consistent greatness.
Can I ask who else is on that list, or do you know?
I did not know. I could probably find it, but it would take too long probably.
Yeah.
That's an insane list, especially when it includes both leagues. That's top-notch.
Very impressive.
But that will do it for this episode of the Restricted Area Podcast. Thanks, Logan, for being on. Follow the show's YouTube at CX Restricted Area. and follow the CX crew on all socials at CX Pod Network. You can follow me on Twitter at The Whale Deal and Logan on all socials at LoganH_4. Thanks for listening and watching. And until next week, like Brunson in the fourth quarter, be smooth.